Hi, I'm Andy. I'm a Move Abroad mentor, and I am here to give you the second country on my possible countries for Americans who want to leave and come to Europe.
I'm so cool.
In this series, I am going to remind you every time that there is no perfect country, but I believe that there are countries that are going to be a better fit for you, and that's completely based on you. It's based on your values, it's based on your life that you're trying to create. And so understanding those things is really important. And so this overview that I am doing of 7 different countries that are a possibility for you in Europe is values based. It's based on the kind of person that you are and what are your priorities. This country that we're going to talk about is a little off the beaten path for many people. Bulgaria. Eastern Europe has a really, really fascinating history. I find Eastern Europe really interesting to visit. I lived in the Republic of Georgia, really far in Eastern Europe. Bulgaria has a lot in common with Georgia as far as past cultural influences. They're both on the Black Sea. So Georgia is on the east side of the Black Sea, Bulgaria is on the west side of the Black Sea. Both of them border Turkey. So, really far east in Europe. Bulgaria is the kind of place that I think people who enjoy travel, enjoy going off the beaten path. I mean, I love Venice as much as anybody, but the kind of people who want to see something new, who want to go somewhere that everybody else isn't going, who doesn't want to be in the center of Lisbon where it's overrun with tourists and loud Americans. Bulgaria is a great place for Americans who don't want to be around a lot of other Americans, to be honest. So I think that there's so many underrated countries in Europe, especially Eastern Europe, that have modern infrastructure and really beautiful cities and architecture, lovely people and cafes, and just the things that Americans think of when we think of Europe. Now, Bulgaria is really, in my opinion, a hidden gem as far as it's not that nobody's talking about Bulgaria, but it's just like way off people's radars. Everybody is talking about Portugal, which is where I live. I don't hear people talking about Bulgaria, but both are in the European Union. Both are in the Schengen zone, which means that you can travel freely. Whoops. You can travel freely between borders in that zone. It also means that unless you have a special visa, you're going to only be able to stay for 90 days in the whole Schengen zone of many different countries, 90 out of every 180 days. And so if you'd like to go to Bulgaria and stay for a longer amount of time, you're going to need a D visa. So, hey, hot off the presses, I just found out that Bulgaria officially now has a digital nomad visa, and it requires you to get your income from outside of Bulgaria and make a minimum per year of 31,000 euros. So, anyway, I just wanted to let you know about that because that is a process that you could do to stay a year in Bulgaria. And then also, it's renewable for a year. So, you could actually base in Bulgaria for 2 years if you did the digital nomad visa process and then you renewed. But that's really great news. I'm not here to give you the nitty gritty stuff about visas. That's really easy to find on AI. But I'm here to give you the feel of like what kind of person is going to enjoy Bulgaria. Americans who are going to enjoy Bulgaria and just Eastern European countries in general, I would say you are interested in being somewhere unique and different that not everybody is going to. Bulgaria is going to be one of the most affordable places that you could base in Europe. Sofia is the capital of Bulgaria. It's got beautiful European buildings, it's got large parks, it's got really reliable transport between trains and buses, grocery stores and markets that you'll be able to shop in. So I would say Bulgaria feels simple and grounded and calm, but still truly European. You're going to notice the same things in Bulgaria that you notice in a lot of places in Europe, which is, certain cities are very big and more bustling and have more going on and have more internationals. And then smaller towns or rural areas will have less English, they will have less large supermarkets. So that's just really like most of Europe is that way, depending on whether you're like in a city area or out in a small town. So that's going to be similar in Bulgaria. So in Bulgaria, there's some really cool different landscapes and different climates. So there's Bansko, which is a ski area, a ski town that's really beautiful. And it's also a place where world schoolers really regularly base. Uh, I'm not sure if you're familiar with World School, but a lot of people who World School will come to a place, bring their kids, and then they have like World School meetups. And Bansko, Bulgaria is one of the places that there are World School meetups. Um, so people will get together at these meetups in different cities in the world. So I think one of the highlights of Bansko is that it's beautiful skiing, but it's also like less expensive than skiing in Western Europe. So that really appeals to a lot of people. You can find in Bulgaria the same types of things that you can find in larger cities in Western Europe, which would be like co-working spaces or meetups of international people, cafe culture. I would say compared to Western Europe, there may be a little bit less English, but in the cities, there will still be quite a lot of English. I think there's a misconception from Americans who haven't traveled a lot that they're not going to be able to communicate, and that's just simply not true. Maybe if you go to a small town or village in Bulgaria, you're going to need to use your translation app. But there's a lot of English spoken all over really the world. Definitely English is spoken in cities throughout Europe. That doesn't mean everybody's going to be able to speak English, but if you have a good attitude about it, people usually have a really good attitude about it. So I would just say that if you're worried about language, if you're staying in larger cities or places that are a little bit more touristic in a country like Bulgaria, you're going to be fine with English. You can use your translation app if needed, but it's like not as big of a deal as people make it. So personally, I like visiting places when people are not speaking English because for me as a highly sensitive person, I hear, maybe because of that and ADHD, like I hear everything everybody's saying. Like if I go to a restaurant, I hear the conversation at the next table. I have a really hard time like tuning it out. So for me, not being able to understand the language is like such a relief. So if you are a person who maybe just really needs a break, Bulgaria would be a really nice break, both financially, if you're making US dollars, a lot of people who are budget conscious travelers or remote workers head to Bulgaria because of the lower cost of living in comparison to Western Europe. So if you are fine not having like tons of outside activities, maybe you're an introvert, maybe you do a lot of working on your computer. Like if you don't need like a really busy, active social scene, Bulgaria could be a good place for you. Like maybe you like to see people, but you don't like need to have like all kinds of events all the time. You know, if you're living in Sofia, you can go to the park. Like I think something that I love about Eastern Europe, Western Europe too, is that there are common areas, there are like third places where there are people and, like there's people playing chess in the park or there's just people wandering around the park enjoying their day or whatever. I think you can still see people. And if you want to make a more intentional effort with like co-working spaces or meetup groups, you're going to be able to find those in the main places in Bulgaria, the main cities, which would be Sofia, Plovdiv. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that one right. Varna and Bansko. Those are places that you should be able to find international friends. If you value affordability and functionality, Bulgaria would be a really good choice. If you want an EU base that is not like super busy and touristy and expensive, it would be a good choice. I would say that Bulgaria could be hard for you if you need like constant social buzz. It's going to be a better fit for people who are ready to chill and are okay being independent, doing your own thing. I'd say Eastern Europe overall, after having lived in Tbilisi, like you just do your own thing. People are friendly when you engage often. Southern Europe is sort of known for like more friendliness and like more effusive personalities and like warm communication styles. I would say in Eastern Europe, including Bulgaria, there's going to be more reserved attitudes, and yet you can have really, really great conversations with people. I would say that in Eastern Europe, because there's less tourism in some of these countries, people are genuinely, some people are not interested in you at all. Some people are genuinely curious and going to have a conversation with you, and you'll have really good opportunities for a unique connection with people because they're not like tired of tourists, you know? I think that that's a really interesting dynamic about certain places in Europe that have become very popular is there's a level of tourist fatigue. And so I think that that's what makes Eastern Europe so special because you can really, if you are the kind of person who's going to come in respectfully and gently and use the few words that you know, you're going to make connections. You're going to have opportunities, even in a more reserved culture that's has to do with being post-Soviet and a lot of different things. Um, Even in a country like that in Eastern Europe, I would say if you are kind and engaging, people will be kind and engaging with you. There might be a wall at first, but if you come with an attitude of like respect and curiosity, you will find friendly people everywhere. If you're somebody who is not going to be put off by uh, maybe a more reserved culture or a sometimes more stoic culture, Eastern Europe is going to be fine for you. In Georgia, you maybe got the outward, like, stoic facade, but then after talking for a few minutes with someone and expressing curiosity about their culture or their life, or like, hey, teach me some words, I think you will just find the people there to surprise you, as long as you're not put off by a little bit more of a stoic demeanor in the beginning. So that's just something to keep in mind. If that's going to intimidate you, then it may not be a good fit. If you're looking for like the charm of the Amalfi Coast, where everything is charming and beautiful, like, you're not going to find that level of charm probably in Bulgaria. But if you're a person like me who is able to notice beauty in different places and who likes to get off the beaten path, I would say it's really worth a try. So for Bulgaria, I recommend it for independent Americans, for Americans who have traveled abroad at least a little bit and, know how to use a translator app and are sort of comfortable asking for help if you need to find your way, getting around. That's a skill that you're going to need in any country that you're moving around. If you're okay figuring out things, if not everybody speaks English, that is really important. But again, in the cities, a lot of people, especially like my age and down, are going to speak English, or at least enough English that you can get things done. Bulgaria is not known as a base for English speaking medical care. So that's something, it's not that you aren't going to be able to get care. Care is going to be affordable and modern. But as far as like getting the kind of specialty care, like mental health care in English, like I can get in Portugal, that's going to be harder to come by. And the systems for healthcare there may not be as English friendly as the ones in Western Europe would be. So that's good to keep in mind. One cool thing about Bulgaria is that it also borders Greece. So you can easily get down to the Mediterranean Sea, or the Aegean Sea, I guess it is right there. So I would say that if you are an adventurous type, I mean, I walked across the border during COVID with my family of 7. So just so you know who you're working with here, I want to take into account what your comfort level is, and I'm just going to try and be honest about that. We're going to cover countries that feel a little bit more adventurous, like Bulgaria, for like relaxed, adventurous, off the beaten path types like me that still have really great infrastructure. You're going to be able to get around. It's not that you're going to like somewhere super remote if you're going to Bulgaria, but I would say that the feel will be for people who are a little bit more familiar with international travel and have a level of comfort with that. Those are the kind of people who are going to thrive in Bulgaria. So I hope you stick around for the other countries in this series. I am trying to give you a wide variety of countries from an expense level and also with different pros and cons, so that regardless, hopefully you will come away with a couple ideas for your maybe list. If you're feeling the need for just a bird's eye view of different paths you could take with a US passport as an American citizen, I have a flow chart called the Get Me Out of Here flow chart. You can get it in my description, and you can also see other offerings that I have in the description. But the flow chart will help you see where you can go and for how long with just your passport or which places that you can go as a US citizen for a longer time and that have paths to longer term residency or citizenship. So that is just like an overall flow chart to give you ideas of which countries might be a good fit. And then I am doing this series with my 7 recommended countries if you are thinking about Europe. See you next time.